How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Hey everyone, let me get this set up. I have been waiting to crack a beer. I've also been wondering, what could we talk about? Hopefully, can I hear myself? I can. All right. So Twitter is telling me that I need to have a premium account in order to be live streaming over there. So that's a thing I didn't really prepare for. I want to light my candle. Yay. Got it. Little light green candle there. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. What are we going to be talking about today? Let's see. The title is Biden Gone. I don't think he's been around for a long time. I think everything's theater. Quite a few of my conspiracy friends have called me up and asked me, just bluntly, the first thing they asked me on the phone or in text message was, do you think the whole Trump thing was a hoax? Quite interesting. Basically, right when it happened, I thought he could have had a blood pill in his hand and just slapped his ear. I have no idea, guys. Rabbit hole galore. It's probably best that you don't spend a lot of time and attention and attempt to figure things out. Um, it may not make you happy. It may continue to create questions for yourself. Today is a Tuesday. Typically, I create a video on Tuesdays and then post them up to the meetup group that's on meetup.com for people in the Austin area that know about Ethereum and Bitcoin, and maybe they're wanting to expand their questions into crypto or other cryptos. Earlier today, I went into the Bitcoin meetup thing because the reason why I started talking about it on Tuesdays is because the Bitcoin uh, typical meetup is on Tuesdays virtually. And so I wanted to be this little hour from 6 to 7 right before they started their 2-hour thing from 7 to 9. I have been much less consistent, and that's just how my life is. So um I attended just a little bit of theirs, maybe like 30 minutes of theirs earlier today. And they had a new guy in there, an Indian guy, asking questions about how is it that you can lend your coins like Ethereum and get a return on them, and what are all the situations. And so that was pretty cool. It's it's good to have the statistics right up in your face of people uh, coming into these new areas of investment and saying, hey, what can I do with my money? I was in that exact same place back in 2017, 2018, and that's how I found Richard Hart. um so there's a lot of speculation, or maybe it's actually founded reasoning behind what Richard is doing with all of his time right now. Is he creating an entire foundation for the world to jump into crypto and have an honest system? I sure hope so. Um, we've just marched down this slow path of what's going on with him and the SEC, and how everything's staying behind closed doors lately, and that's just fine with me. Um, However, the crypto prices have gone down a bit, and that's just fine with me as well, because I see this other side where there are the folks that are undisciplined people, and you see it in their demeanor, you see it in their behavior, who are either causing chaos. Well, they used to cause chaos. Now they're just frustrating themselves. And now we're starting to see more of who's going to be who for the long haul. And a lot of the problem creators have left already. I am seeing more folks come back already, and that's actually kind of concerning. I wish some of these people would have just stayed away, but whatever. We need more folks to be around to entice others to get involved. And I think the last time that I did a live stream, I talked about how we need to cheer on the females in this environment. Immediately after that, sadly, Hex Latina, was it? I guess her name was Pulse Latina. She rugged a project, and supposedly she was just a hired model in order to do like very short video clips and just take pictures every once in a while of her at a computer, or her holding some pulse chain printouts. I wasn't pointing to Pulse Latina and saying, "Hey, sponsor this girl or get behind this girl." I That was far from my mind on exactly who I meant to get behind, but it just so happened that that happened. So that's, I don't know, that stuff happens. Like, yeah, call it is quite a coincidence. There's a lot of coincidences happening. Um, so I created a group back in the day called Hex Foodies. Is the longest name it had, but it's now Hex Guild, and we talk about health. And here I am cracking open a beer for my first time in at least a month. This is my first beer in at least a month, or actually second beer. I had one just a while ago with dinner. I had 2 tacos, which is also not the greatest food. Um, so it what did I want to say about that? Oh goodness. Something about health and people doing good, but I'll start going into the other things related to this. Um, Inside the Hex community, the guys who have stayed around, some of them have, glued themselves to the computer or gone through their ups and downs in their life, and they're coming up against health problems. And sometimes they, mention them, rub shoulders with us, and some of the guys in the group, they're very, very set on helping other people get to a better place, because we're talking about hitting the wall. We're talking about, like, you see a doctor and the doctor doesn't really have your answers. And so something that's really cool is Hex is Finbear over there in Finland. He has been a Hexican from day one, or close to. I get everybody's stories confused. Let me check the chat and see if he's the guy that's watching. All right, no chat so far. So Finbear has reached out to quite a few people about carnivore, and I believe if you go to t.me/hex carnivore, he'll be at that spot telling people about the carnivore diet. I have tried out the carnivore diet. I really enjoy it. I'm a person who will dibble dabble in it. Well, I'll mix it up a little bit, so I won't go full carnivore all the time. But I did do quite a bit of full carnivore, I believe, there for a little while. I'll see stuff online and in like all the little groups, the health groups that are like intertwined with permaculture, so gardening groups and things like that. And um so I'll like want to try some of these products that they'll highlight, and then I'll go on Amazon and be a part of those people who run up the price of these things, sadly. Um, so I don't know if y'all have seen pearl powder being shown to everybody lately. Well, that's one of the things. Just timestamp that. Um, but yeah, there's let's see. So lit. What is his name? My life is awesome. That lit guy. He's come back to be loud and proud in the community, and he got with Finbear. And so Finbear and him did 2 episodes already of carnivore diet. And I watched like 15, 20 minutes of the first one. And that's as far as I got on that so far. I still have it in my tabs in order to watch it. Um, awesome information. I highly recommend you guys checking this out. The reason why carnivore diet is because the animals, they go and eat everything that they need. Um, all the little greens or berries, they get everything that you will need from the environment, and then you consume them. That's the idea behind carnivore diet. So if you have skin problems, um, please check it out. If you have digestive problems, please check out carnivore diet. Uh, there, it's very, very common to have health issues with today's food. Totally common. Um, when I was when I was in college, I didn't have an issue at all. I was strong because of grandma's cooking and uh, mother's frozen suppers or fresh suppers. Uh, because like I say grandma's because my grandparents were here in my town that I grew up in. So I got to drinking um, whenever I was in college, drinking pretty heavy, and I didn't hold back. And I didn't hold back whenever I got in corporate world either. And so after 2.5 years of corporate world, that was after college. So 6 years after getting out of my parents' house, I started hitting the wall, if you will. Started having health issues, and I think it started happening by me having little like bubbles around my eyes. And so these little blisters, that was because proteins were escaping my gut, that I had created a hole in my gut, or maybe several holes in my gut, because of the crap that I was eating. And I wasn't eating a necessarily good diet. I abused bread. I remember, like, that was one of my favorite things, to go get bread from Central Market, which is an HEB high end level grocery store. So you could call it a Whole Foods type market. Whole Foods, yeah. What's the other high ends? Whatever the high end grocery store is, they have the fresh baked bread area. So I was trying to save money like crazy, because I was already the conspiracy theories had already gotten my ear. I was already aware that the Federal Reserve was not federal. Um, so I would love to grab one of those breads that was like had a little bit of cranberry maybe in it, and I would go home and slice, or I would just chow on that and a six pack of beer or something, and watch YouTube back in 2010, 2011, whenever I got off of work, and I really abused myself. And eventually I had this problem of leaky gut, and I went to a doctor, and they said they didn't know what it was, I think. And then maybe I went to another, and then I went to one that was referred to me from my mother's friend, who is my sister's godmother, who had been in Houston for a long time. So she knew all the ins and outs of the highest, most knowledgeable people. And this doctor looked at me and he said, "I don't know what this is, but lucky for you, somebody before you had it, and it was this certain pill that made it go away. Um, Lucky for you, that person went through the 30 different pills that I had given that person as the guinea pig, as the trial person. And you are so lucky that here's this pill. It's going to cost you $500 per pill. And with insurance, that's not that bad of a deal. But I wanted to get away from the city. I wanted to quit my job and get away from this whole thing of being this this wage working slave. I was a draftsman. I was a draftsman in the oil industry, and I have an architecture degree. So I wanted nothing to do with what I was doing. It was just all the same processing of the paperwork and through the computer and out of the computer, and it was just the same thing. Like, give me step A, step B, C, D, E, it's done. Next on all these projects. Um I was making okay money, enough money that I could not lavishly live and save money and feel as though I could hop the ship and get the fuck out of there. So but that's a huge deal that a lot of people are finding themselves in. These days, they're finding themselves in a worse situation. Like, if you've already hit the wall with health issues, you're going to stay on the tit and continue to stay working for the folks that you're working for and keep your health insurance. I said, "Fuck you guys! I'm going home." Um, I I treated myself better, but I also came down with something else. Um, at one point, I abused my body enough to where my spine shifted a little bit, and it was kind of um it was kind of an ongoing problem that just all of a sudden happened. Like, a freak thing happened where I injured myself. I didn't even run into anybody else on the soccer field. Um, but it was kind of perfect timing because you know how everything is. Like, you you need to learn to be better, and something's got to force you to be better. And in some ways, it's sick. Like, I almost feel globalist whenever I say this. So many people will just sit and defend their position, and it's just like, you got to move on. um so what happened with me is I just stepped wrong on the soccer field, and I was playing defense, and I just fell straight to the ground because, like, I literally had a spine shift and a pinch, and I was in pain for at least a day or 2 days, and I knew that I didn't need it might have even been 3 days. I knew that I didn't need surgery, I just needed somebody to tell me what was wrong with me and pop me back into place. And there was this chiropractic person who, her and her husband study chiropractor, back in my hometown, and I went to school with their kids, and they actually lived down the street from me at one point. And so I knew that somehow I just knew that this lady could pop me back into place. But before I went home, I checked out what they could do for me in Houston, and I found this spine surgeon for some reason around the corner from my work. And this guy wanted to he started doing x-rays, and then he wanted to get me under the knife like within the week. And I was just like, dude, I'm not doing that. And and I started talking with his nurse, and telling his nurse like, hey, I don't want to do this. Like, you guys have the wrong idea. I just, want to figure out what's wrong and get out of pain. And she was like, you remind me of my son, which is often whenever it is that I'm talking truth and these older people are stuck in the rat race and stuck in their position, um, stuck on the tit. And so she told me like, yeah, I wouldn't be doing this job if I didn't have to pay off my school loans and all sorts of things. Like, she's just stuck paying bills her whole life. And so I never went back to that spine surgeon guy, and I received a very large bill from them for the bullshit consulting that they did for me. But I just ran the opposite direction, swallowed that bill, and just kept running. Anyway, what am I talking about? My goodness, I went on a tangent. Yeah, how people will get caught in this system and health problems will arise. And if it is that, you know, COVID hit and health problems had already arisen, then I feel sorry for you, because what's really happened lately is COVID hit, and people have had issues just making rent payments and regular payments on stuff. And a lot of people have had to move. They've been displaced. But let's talk a little bit about more about where the Hex community is right now and what's going on. Um, Hexo has come back. He's a cheerleader of ours. He's been back for like, I don't know, month, 2 months, or a month and a half. It's great to have him here. Everybody entertains a different type of person, and I've had to explain that to some of the guys that are on Twitter talking all day. What are they doing? Passing money to each other? I don't know. Are they constantly talking shit about Richard Hart? Ooh, half the time, yeah. Um, so I have seen some recorded spaces over there on YouTube, and I think they take place on Twitter, and they're posted by Crypto Gyms, I think. So he's been favoring Pulse Chain, and that's wonderful. That's good. Obscure Crypto Gems, that's his name. So he's been posting some of these things that I was talking about, where like Richard might be working in the background and doing all sorts of things to, and possibly working with other founders. So all across all of crypto. And then the other day, I joined into a Twitter space, and some people had some negative things to, or actually one guy had some negative things to say to me, and I'm just like, dude, I've just been building, and we've been creating a foundation with the hex postcard stuff. And if you want to, if you, what is it? We're over here waiting for folks to come and be a part of our stuff. And by our stuff, I mean this could be your stuff as well. You're choosing to put your talents elsewhere. And whenever it is that you're putting your talents elsewhere, then you're also putting a price tag on it. And not necessarily does this object need to exist and does a price tag need to be on it. And from day one, I've always been like, let's just focus our purchasing power on one thing. Um, and it sucks that what if we all put our purchasing power into only one thing and the price still goes down? That would still suck. So we're just sitting in an evolutionary time. And I personally don't know how to analyze like when it is that we're going to come out of this, um, price wise. Um, but I can totally see it as an evolutionary thing because we're seeing the flows of people. It's really interesting. And like I said earlier, I adore that we've had it the way that we've had it. And as I was telling a buddy of mine on the phone the other day who's been here the whole time, let's see, ever since like just before sacrifice of Pulse Chain, I was telling him that like this has really put quite a bit of crypto maturity down my throat or in my body because you have to experience it. I'm one of those guys that experienced Hex from the beginning of Hex, where Richard said that he was going to create a token that allows you to earn interest. Early days. And so that's what I was interested in. And he said, "Hey, join the Telegram group." So I didn't join the Telegram group. I just chilled out and continued to wait for his streams. What's up, Tin Top? Thanks for being here. I'm just going over random stuff. So Richard said he was going to create this token and that anybody who wanted to follow the progress go into the Telegram group. And it took me a while to install Telegram on my phone. And then finally, I took the offer and went into the Telegram group. And I just read through messages, like tons and tons of messages. And then they just started backing up because I'm not the fastest reader. After, a few days, I stopped reading and they started backing up. And so there's just hundreds and hundreds of messages. And by the time it was like 1,200 messages, I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to read all these. I'm just going to stop reading all these. And everybody was sitting there waiting for Richard to come out with this token. Many people who were these early OGs lost track of when this token was going to come out. And eventually Richard said, I don't know, maybe like it's going to take just a little bit longer. I'll launch sometime within this week or something. And he eventually did. And then we had all this excitement about, okay, this thing was launched, and we put in our anteed up on our on the adoption amplifier lobby thing majigger. And then like the price dipped heavily. And at one point, whenever it was at the lowest price and like the best time to ever buy hex, in that adoption amplifier, um I was wondering if I was the only one who was still there looking at the price and being a part of the whole system. So that's something to pay attention to right there. I was thinking I might have been the only person to be looking at this thing and not sure if I should put in any money towards it at that point, which was, day 30 to 50 in the adoption amplifier. Mind you, the lowest day was something like day 42, 43, 44, something like that. Um so what I want to point out is the wait time on price go up. So then Hex hits its all-time high and all that stuff, and there's talk about Pulse Chain coming around, and there's this Pulse Chain sacrifice and Pulse X sacrifice, right? And I think it was August of 21 that I was in the chat. I think the Pulse Chain sacrifice was over, and I was inside the Pulse Chain chat room on Telegram in the voice chat, and somebody was like, there was this young guy. I could tell he was young, and I could tell he was black, and he was talking about how, like, we're all going to be so rich, and this stuff is going to come out in a month or at two at the latest. And I went on there, and because there were like three guys that were really talking it up, and I went on there. I said, guys, I don't want to be the bummer, but the guy bringing you bad news, but it's going to take longer than that, just based on what I've seen from waiting on Richard's stuff, for him to release new software stuff. I think it's going to take much longer than that. And those guys just like laughed me off the stage. And I was laying on my girlfriend's bed at the time. So and I'd already given like an hour to this chat, while it was that we had just gotten back from a vacation, and she was doing like her little duties of taking care of portions of the house. I was just laying on the bed, staying out of the way. My suitcase was like rolled up next to the closet or something like that, because I was probably staying the night instead of keeping it in the car, and going home that day. So um so and we were probably gonna go out to eat or something like that right after that. So I was just like, all right, it's time to check out of this conversation. These guys don't want to hear the information that I have to tell them about how they just need to chill, and maybe even take a step back. um like, somehow we need to figure out how to tell people, chill, take a step back, and talk to your friends about, like, all this excitement that you want to come after and make up plausible best scenarios with. Use that energy instead to maybe go talk to somebody else and tell them in general what crypto is, and why they might be interested in getting involved. So that was what came to mind, what, like 10 minutes ago, whenever I started rambling about time scenarios. and how we didn't expect for the price to be where it is right now. But in relation to what's going on in the world, like I've labeled this live stream Biden gone. I labeled it Biden gone because and I gave it even a little thumbnail about like chaos in the streets, people trying to use their modems to connect, and an ice cream cone and a funeral or something like that was what I gave AI in order to generate an image for this. We are living in some really, really interesting times because we have so much information that has been brought straight up to our faces without us even having to dig. And of course, whenever you're given information, it's been manicured quite a bit. So somebody else has thought about this a lot before they gave it to you. Um, that's what I like to tell people about conspiracy theories is there's always a little bit of truth to the conspiracy theory because do you think that you're the only person to think about this and then dismiss it? Like, no, tons of people have taken a look at this, and that's why I even got to you. Um, that's the argument that I make for people that I love. Gosh, I wish my grandparents were still around so I could have a little chat with them about how weird things have gotten. So, um, yeah, Tin Tops in the chat. He said he almost missed it because he stopped waiting for Richard Hart. That's with the hex, totally. Yeah, Tin Top says we got the front row to the unveiling. um, so I oh there so Tin Top, there's this explosions going on in Midland, Texas, which is out there in West Texas. It's an oil town. And if I look at where those domes are or the underground bases and the tunnels that cross America, um, Midland, Texas is one of the places that it passes through or even has a base. I would love for that stuff to be true where right now there's an unseen war and there are patriots that are cleaning out the issues that we've had. Um, as scary as it is, I would totally be more accepting to that. Um, like maybe I should be looking at current events and the bright side of current events, but with as much uh COVID stole my smile is what I tell people. I came back here to my hometown back in 2012 thinking that there was going to be a financial collapse. And then after a few years, I started realizing that finances can be completely faked for as long as it needs to be in order for them to keep up theatrical stuff for us. And and like as much as I see like people's awareness around me, like yeah, these people could just continue to be a part of the audience till the end of time. They're not asking critical questions at all. Um, and then whenever it came around to like, let's see, I had precious metals already, and then I tried to start up a business, and then I just went hard on my career, and then I put some money into crypto, and I lounged around in the tadpole pond that Richard Hart created. And then crypto became a lot more part of my life. And then at the same time crypto prices increased, then then COVID hit. And when before COVID hit, I could feel during Obama's generation, or during Obama's stuff, I could feel the negativity towards the person that I am, the the proud, um the guy who takes chances, and is confident in himself, and never ever has been given anything from a government or a nonprofit, um and always being like, I don't know if I'm using the word right, subjugated to the corporations. Like if I go and get involved, I'm going to get the bare minimum, and going to like fight for every little bit of what I could get out of it. Um so so I was already prepared, or everything was already stepping that way, and then COVID hit. Like Donald Trump came around and made it to where like people had better business. But then COVID hit and it made it to where like everybody then like double browbeat me down. And I wouldn't comply with wearing masks. I would challenge things. And like you can't tell me that you can't tell me that you're going to be afraid of talking to somebody within a certain distance. You're going to be afraid of that, but you're not going to be afraid of a fly landing on one person and going to another person, or a pet, a dog, going and rubbing up on one person and then going to the other person and rubbing up on that person within the same like seconds. But yet supposedly a human being, their skin can carry the COVID virus for an entire day. Like that just pissed me off so much that I got into arguments. I got uh I would discuss things with people at establishments. I would discuss things with owners, because I was an architecture consultant and my clients were restaurant owners. So I would discuss things with them, and they don't want to lose their business. They don't want to be shut down. So they're going to comply with what it is that the local health district adopts from the CDC. um, the low paid person at the front entrance of a grocery store is just doing their job. So you can't talk sense to them. Like literally at our grocery store, this is when I stopped, officially like completely stopped going to the local grocery store and started only going to an organic grocery store, higher end vitamin shop, because over there at the grocery store during COVID in the early days, they literally had it to where there were only like 60 people allowed in the store at a time. And they had a line out of the front. There was a whole freaking line. If you didn't show up in the early hours of the morning, you wouldn't you wouldn't know when it is that you're going to be able to get inside that store, because you have to sit there and wait in line. And then of course, like all the all they have you counted out inside the store to keep your pace away from each other and not have it to where like you're going down the aisles at the same time. However, you're front to back, all or you know what I'm saying, like you're in a line out of the front of the store, so you're already getting the COVID exposure. So anyway, um a few times at the organic grocery. Those guys, they didn't ask me questions. The owners, obviously were cool. And it's a nationwide store, like half the nation or a third of the nation has these stores. But every once in a while, there was some dumbass who would come up to me and say, "What's your story? Why do you think you're special?" It's just like, because I'm not an idiot. Um, and whenever that would happen, they would ask me if I wanted faster service to just get me out of the store in case, in, like just to make it to where like, okay, that person who chooses not to wear a mask is gone. Um, but back to COVID stole my smile, and it made it to where like it really psychologically fucked with me about how I'm able to interact with my society, my local people. Um and and now that veil, or that hard crust has started to dissolve. And so I'm feeling much better lately. But during this entire time, I have every once in a while made a video to express myself and allow people to have like an inner look over what it is that I'm thinking based on the information that I get from the internet. And I do that on Facebook. And this thing right now is not connected to Facebook. Um, I think that that's important. I think that just unique perspectives every once in a while put into your environments are important. And I believe that in in my small town environment, or what used to be a small town, because we're blowing up because Austin continues to grow, or the Austin area does. And my town and my county have grown quite a bit in the last 10 to 20 years. Um it's important for other people to see strong opinions, and strong opinions that might be different than theirs, and for it to possibly be like right in their face as well. I'm not causing them any harm. Maybe I'll give them an excuse. I've said this before in one of those videos that I posted. um I'm I want to give people an excuse to honor themselves and look into things, and maybe even save themselves some grief, some maybe even save their life. Um, because let me tell you this in case you haven't heard it. Back when COVID hit, the early days, like right when COVID supposedly came to the States, because it was over there in China for like a month or two, and then it came over here. Well, they were starting to shut down. Um, what were they doing? They were starting to set up tents in the Central Park in New York City. I for some reason I think this is about like the exact day. Like whenever we heard stories about that, people in my town started saying, "We're all gonna die. There's all sorts of shit that's gonna happen. You need to lock down. You need to get all your food supplies. You need to stop. Like your stop from seeing your grandparents. You need to um we need to shut down the schools. We need to absolutely shut down the schools. All businesses need to what was it? I forgot what it was, but like some people were calling for like desperate measures of shutting everything down and sending people into fear. And this was on on the on a group that was my town's group. So we are Georgetown, Texas. So that was the group. Well, whenever it was that somebody who was a group admin posted an article about that scenario in Central Park and said a bunch of these things of like, this is what we need to start doing. Me and a few other people said, not necessarily. Let's wait and see. Let's let's look at this a little bit deeper. And immediately, whenever we say that sort of thing, we get kicked out. And so, because we got kicked out, I was pretty upset that I got kicked out because I thought that I created some good content and was a good member in that group. Well, within hours, literally, like maybe even 1 or 2 hours of me getting kicked out of that group, someone said, "Hey," I don't even know this person. Someone said, "Hey, we're all getting into this other group. We created another group. Fuck those other people." So now we're a part of a group that's like 9 to 11,000 now, maybe even 15,000. I'm not sure. And we just call it Georgetown, Texas official. You know how people just add the official at the end. So, um, so whenever I do a video and I tell people about like what I give them permission to think about, um, then it's typically a recorded video and it's very, very blunt. And I'll tell people every once in a while, like, hey, keep in mind, I'm one of those people that got kicked out of the old group because those people were attempting to tell us how to think and what to do. And of course, I'm one of the first members of this group that you're a part of, and it's why you're listening to this video. Um, and these, the founders of this group know who I am, and we just have this. We don't speak on like I don't talk to the founders. They just know who I am and what kind of a character I am. All right. 10 Tops cracking up in the chat. How dare you suggest we do anything other than what the TV tells us? He also says a lot of small businesses were crushed. People's dreams and life savings vanished because of a narrative about a real bad flu strain. Yeah, if we go look at the flu statistics on a chart, it was dead during that time period. Everybody who died was contributed to COVID, whether you died from a bicycle accident, uh, you were an old person and you tripped and fell. But we've got serious situation coming up with with all this stuff coming to light. Um, all these patriots asking all sorts of questions, and now we've got like government investigative bodies in multiple governments, excuse me, starting to get down to the bottom of what this COVID thing was and where these shots came from. While these people are experiencing long COVID, it's it's sick that the same companies that created the shots are moving towards the anti long COVID stuff. That's some sick stuff. And hopefully we can we can we can fuck that stuff up at the same time we fuck up the climate change narrative, and the same time we get everybody awake to why it is that there has to be migrants everywhere and that we're paying for all of it. um and shit, while we're at it, let's start analyzing how much money we're actually giving to folks that do nothing, and are on the tit all the time. um let's kick out all sorts of foreign bodies who are close to our government bodies. um and I didn't think the Irish were going to do as much as they've done as far as their kickback. They're just saying, screw you, I'm going to set shit on fire. That's quite interesting. I mean, it must be pretty bad for them to get to that point. um I need to stop saying Yeah, Tin Top, earlier whenever I was talking about Midland, Texas, I was thinking that uh, like maybe there isn't an underground base there, it's just tunnels, and that maybe there are patriots inside those tunnels trying to figure out like, okay, well, what sort of transportation, like trafficking of all sorts of goods have been going through there. Um, oh, here's something I want everybody to give me an answer for. Anybody who has this answer, why is it that back in the day, I knew that Bitcoin was going to be chosen for the elite to get us onto digital bank accounts, but also that El Salvador was going to lead the way in some way in Central America or all of Americas. Why did I know that it was going to be El Salvador? I don't remember why I knew. I remember looking at their flag and trying to figure out like what the symbolism is in their flag, but like how was their government set up? Um and who is the majority funder behind, or the several majority funders behind them in order for that to happen? I don't remember, but there's something that I'm a little bit suspicious about. Otherwise, I'd say, hey, everybody, let's just hop on over there for a little bit of time. If it is that things get much, much worse here. However, right now, we're having quite a few Patriots step up. And yeah, there's bottlenecks all over the place, but those bottlenecks are becoming so apparent. Absolutely apparent. Like when Marjorie Taylor Greene or Candace Owens, like of course they need to be females because like this is the time that we live in right now where the the females are able to get to the bottom of things and really be right up there on front stage and asking the actual questions. They're getting stonewalled is what I think is what Marjorie Taylor Greene said earlier today whenever she's asking the CIA head, like, what, no, the Secret Service head, um what's going on here or whatever. I have to refer you to the FBI. Well, you gonna give me any answers? It's been 9 days. Did you not bring a schedule of all the events? Yes, but it's not detailed. Oh, oh shit. All right. So I still don't trust Elon. If you were going to take over the world, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. So you would go through all sorts of um I don't theatrical is the word lately. Theatrical things. And so Elon is moving all his businesses to Texas, and he's residing in Texas because, like, when it is that Texas is a high performing state, you got to go put a big fish in that small pond that could be a very powerful pond, right? So I don't trust him, but every once in a while he says some really good stuff or he does some really good stuff. Um and I'm really appreciative of Twitter right now. And so that's that's why, we're happy to be here with a front row seat of all the crap that's going on right now. But I'm getting older, and I've been watching this for a while, and I've been aware to it for a while, and a lot of the folks that are my age, um, or around my age, that are my loved ones, they don't see it. They haven't been seeing it. They've got other distractions in their lives, or maybe they've had kids, and that completely puts your life in different priorities and different key points. And and I sometimes I honor myself by thinking about how undistracted I am from just doing mediocre stuff. I want to do awesome stuff. I want this to I want to live to the fullest, and I don't want to do something and know that I'm going to have the rug pulled out from under me in a few years. That's not what I want to do. So that's why it is, of course, that weather modification pisses me off the most. Cause shit, I go and develop some land and you're gonna change the weather above me? Shit. Okay. Um, so so I honor myself. Like I have gratitude for myself, where my mind is, where my patience is, my body is, um, my confidence is, because there are so many people that they get to a certain point and they're just like, oh, this is good enough for me in my life, and I just keep on striving. Like, yeah, I'll go 3 steps and then 2 back, and then 3 steps, 2 back, or maybe just 1 back every once in a while if I'm lucky. Oh, and then that brings me to what has recently happened in my life. If you guys want to catch up on me, don't go climb, or be very, very, very careful. Don't climb high up in dead trees. Don't fuck with dead trees. I was up in a dead tree, and it's now taken like 4 days of production out of me. I've got swollen ankles, and one of my ankles is not swollen anymore, but it's black and blue. Um, I was worried about my knee for a little while, but it's fine. I didn't want to come on here and tell the internet that hey, I'm limping around the house, because there's crazy people out there, like, make it look like I've got security issue, but I'm good. This is the second time that I've fully swollen both of my ankles at the same time. The first time was a hiking accident when I was in college and I was a dumbass. I you couldn't tell the distance of something, and I slid off of something and fell into rocks. But but yeah, watch out when you're messing around with dead trees. Um, so here in my backyard, I've got a workout situation, and uh, some of those trees I haven't fully prepped in order to be a part of the jungle gym, and so there's this one certain tree that's back in the corner, and because I live in the urban environment, but I have a lawn, and so this tree that's back in the corner, it's got like it's a crap tree. That's why I killed it. Um, and so it's got like four like four trunks, if you will, that eventually by the time it gets over my head, there's four trunks splaying out, and they're going almost straight up, but each one of them is kind of like leaning toward one of the neighbors. So if I was to just chop it down at the bottom, or even at like 12 feet, then it would still fall and hit one of the wood fences of my neighbors, or the sewer line for our block is going up underneath that area. So if I drop it on the ground right there, I could disrupt that underground pipe with the vibrations. So I don't want to do that. So I was up in it, stripping it a little bit more after I'd already killed it. And I killed it earlier, like seasons before, probably last year before that, by girdling the tree, meaning I cut the bark away, a ring, notching into it all the way around, takes away the layer where it delivers the nutrients up the tree. That's how trees do it. On the outer portion is where the liveliness um, then is sent up to the top. So that's called girdling. So I did that back in the day. The thing died, but before it died, it did a last sprout where it had just a bunch of these twigs everywhere coming off of it. So the other day I decided that's what I'm going to work on here coming soon. I'm going to strip all those twigs, and then figure out what I'm going to do with the limbs. Well, once I got up in the tree the other day, um, I found out how dead those limbs were, and they started falling. I mean, the larger limbs, the twigs, they just snap. But and with my hands, I could just pluck them off. But but the majority limbs that give it structure, those things had started rotting, and I found mushrooms at some points in it, but I ended up trusting the wrong limb whenever I was stupidly trying to break another limb. So I was trying to like play them against each other and push and pull action. And I think I was pushing and pulling over here. And then over here, what I was relying on keeping me up, I think that thing broke. So I just free fall, not free fall. Um, I I gripped a bit, like my skin's gone on these fingers. I grip what I can on the way down to stop me from completely falling on my face or my side or whatever. So I ended up landing in a position with uh my leg bent back a little bit, and I was okay. I was okay. I assessed myself and laid there for about 5 to 10 minutes in the lawn and just said, you kind of had an idea that this was going to happen. Why didn't you take appropriate steps? Blah, blah, blah. How bad are you? Do you need the do you need any attention? Like I had these things going on in the back of my head of just like, what if I have to call for help if I fall from this position? Like I'm just like just absolute idiocracy of why it is that I didn't chip away at this thing. I've got all these hand saws, I've got chainsaw, I've got everything to just incrementally just take this thing down, but no, I didn't want to get back out of the tree. I just wanted to peel the thing apart while inside of it. Well, you're peeling apart up here, but you're not so sure that the stuff down there is even good. That was the issue. All right. So but this is this is a good like reassessment. Like we're talking about me now, right? This is a good um uh this is a good situation where like I needed to take a break. I needed to pace myself. I needed to um once again reevaluate where I stand in the world, how I'm not infinite. I am not um everlasting. I am not all powerful. I am not the person that I thought I was when I was 19 years old. Those sorts of things of just like, all right, who are you? What are you trying to do? So but things have been great. I've had small little victories here and there in my personal life, and like I said, I've gained back my smile and my humor and my capability of socializing with who I even effing want to socialize with since COVID, and like the mind virus hit everybody. We've like people are now talking about this, and it's wonderful that it's getting out there. It's part of the bottlenecking that I'm talking about with true patriots coming out and being leaders and talking about these things. We were hit by a mind virus, and we're still fighting the mind virus, but it's losing. It's losing because they're bold enough people to say, like, they're like some of the leaders are saying that they need to be put in prison, but some of the rest of us are saying they need to be fucking shot. We need to get rid of them. Absolutely. All right. So, where are we right now? I hope it's not too much more theater. Um, I hope there's not too much more theater. So the hex price on Pulse Chain is 0.00633. And on ETH, it's 0.00131. So it's 13% of a cent on Ethereum. Pulse Chain is just below 50% of Saks price, and Pulse X is at 27% of Saks price. The Ink token is at $2.86. Tin Top says he's sure that there's a kid in my neighborhood who could do the trimming and that he himself learned to hire professionals, not me and a 12 pack of beer. Tin Top, I am still at the age where I am going to do these things. And there probably is like some kid somewhere, something. I I've got such a small lot that like everything I can handle. It's almost like rearranging my clothes in my closet or something. It is so small. So I was just being an idiot, an absolute idiot. I was at the top of that thing, you know, 20 feet above the ground, saying to myself, should I have my cell phone, or is the cell phone close enough to crawl to if I fall out of this thing? So it's it's one of these things where I'm just like, was I telling myself, or was this a blessing? Because I'm still finding little sore spots or cuts on myself, but I haven't felt my back that I normally feel, and I've had to like it might have helped rearrange some of my body in a good way, as weird as that is. Or maybe, yeah. You, you know how like you make a like somebody was talking about the discovery of penicillin the other day, where a guy accidentally dropped some of his bread from his lunch into a little petri dish, and then it sat there in the lab for a while, and then all of a sudden they have penicillin, and it was just like, oh, what happened? Like, I feel like if you pray to God for something to happen to you, and then something bad happens to you, but it's not that bad of a thing, and then all of a sudden you start to realize, you know what? I dodged a bullet. That's kind of how I feel right now. Without saying it bluntly and then saying it bluntly. That's kind of how I feel. Tin Top says, when you get older, you don't bounce back from injury. Well, I I'm trying to deny some of that stuff, and I'm trying to like maybe even have my last hurrah. Um so I've been building this jungle gym out in the back, and also I've been doing some workouts in this bear market, and um yoga quite often. And so whenever my knee, which is probably tomorrow or the next day, gets to feeling just a little bit better, I'm going to go right back to the yoga that I have been doing. Um but I've got all sorts of suggestions from doing everything the hard way, from building from nothing or almost nothing. I've got a lot of suggestions of how people can uh, create a self motivating atmosphere, little pot of influence for themselves. And it kind of starts with an outdoor shower, and somehow like incorporate some gravity workouts into that or around it with some yoga. And then that outdoor shower is able to share some water down in all directions, to water some plants. Every time you take a shower, you're automatically watering your plants. Every time you work out, you can take a shower to refresh yourself. And while you're working out or while you're taking your shower, you're getting your grounding element. So this wonderful um, this little plug for nature, for the natural aspect of life, instead of having it to where everything's plastic, and rubber is separating you from the floor, and you're sitting in this chair, like the ergonomics of this chair do not exist. um and then diet is a whole another thing, but having the success of growing grass and keeping your body in shape, there's wonderful things there. Tin Top says, I would suggest videoing all projects so the me doesn't have to work so hard. I don't get it. So that you, like, I video them so that you can get the satisfaction from it. A lot of people are recognizing that, like, when they're going out and doing video blogs, all that time and attention that's put, the energy that's put towards videoing themselves, makes it twice as hard to keep up with. And then especially whenever they're like putting the video at the front of the path, and then they're walking the path, so they're doing everything twice. But the energy of thinking of, like, oh, these great grandiose shots, oh my goodness, please Google, pay them lots of money for that stuff. Oh, me as medical examiner. Tin Top's still telling me to give up, hire young bucks. I need to experience everything at least once. I don't think I've ever fallen out of a tree before. Um, yeah, there's something there, Tin Top. There's something there where I think that I need to learn from things. I need to get smarter in order to be more humble, or maybe alert to things. How about this? When I have kids, I will be old and worn out, and I will simply just hire things out. I'm pretty sure that that's going to be the time. He says, I never said give up. It just said work smarter, not harder. True. True, true, true. Okay. So what else do we have in the Hex community? Um let's see. All in all, we're having a lot of folks um who have thrown shade on Richard, or wanted to use their critique of Richard as some sort of a way to raise um their their position in people's minds. Um those folks, they're becoming less and less of them. If they ever said negative things about Richard, most likely they've already fallen out. And um a lot of folks who have been here the whole time are continuing to have their stance of we're here to duke it out till the end. The end being, we're here for another bull run. Let's get this going. We're here. We're ready. We support Richard, and all these creations. And like I said earlier in this video, there's more people coming back into the scene because they are those people that come and go with what they think is going to be the bull and the bear. So we are having some of the same faces, and I think I am seeing some new faces, but let's attempt to get some new faces all together. Let's attempt to take the easy fruit off the tree, because you know that there's people out there who are wondering what crypto is and how can they learn it, and they need to get different streams of income, and they need to get different places to invest in. um, and this technology continues to grow in its purpose in the world. um, there's that. Oh, and another thing, Tin Top says, have you seen Dev Mikey? I don't know that I have. Um, he's been on a couple streams recently. He is trying to show people how to put their capital to work in DeFi and on Pulse Chain. I haven't seen him. I've seen what they've been capturing, what Obscure Crypto Gems has been capturing on YouTube and posting to YouTube. He's been capturing it from, I think, Twitter. And so some of the guys are saying that that there are some behind the scenes stuff going on with linking biology to the Pulse Chain environment, let's say, and also stables. But I'll look that up. Where has Dev Mikey been interviewed? Is my question, Tintop. Yeah, Riggs is the guy's name that I'm talking about, with talking about what Richard has not come out onto the surface and talked about setting stuff up in Pulse Chain. Like, what is Richard working on lately? Is he just doing nothing, or is he actually doing something? Is he doing nothing and just waiting for court, or only responding to court documents? Nah, he's busy. But a lot of people want to say that no, the only thing that exists are these prices. I had a conversation the other day with Facing Reality, and that guy is ready for this next bull. Um, he thinks that yeah, Richard is working hard in the background, and that we are all going to be very pleasantly surprised as long as we are diversified inside of Richard's stuff. Tintop says Mikey was on Lit Gaines' channel and another one about a week ago. Okay. I recently saw that Lit Gaines was back in the light, and so he's one of the people that I'm talking about as coming back into the fold. The reason why I recognized him as being back was because Finbear did 2 carnivore episodes with him, because Finbear is out there beating the drum of, hey guys in Hexaco, this could be a wonderful thing for your life and your health. Please give it a try. And so t.me/hex carnivore is Finbear's channel, along with he's over with us in the guild. That's t.me/hex foodies. Tin Top says Richard Hart has a long-term mindset. We haven't seen anything yet. Exactly. And also what I wanted to say was that I just got an update on how we're doing with the postcards. We've got quite a few members on Patreon, maybe like 16 or so. And over like 2 months, I believe, two or 3 months, we've gotten almost $300 out of that Patreon. And then pairing that with some with a large amount of donations that we either already had or recently came in. Um, so totaling about $3,000 is going to be spent or has just been spent on some more postcards, and they're going to be sent out to Vancouver. So the Patreon folks, be proud that you have officially paid for 10% of this next 10,000 run that's being sent out to Vancouver. And so over there in the Telegram group, t.me/hex postcards is where we talk about those things. And I just got that update a few hours ago. Cool. Well, thanks for all that info, Tin Top, and thanks for conversing with me. I might have a few more things that I'll think about after I end the stream, but I can't remember them right now. Everybody keep up to date on what AI is doing. I've got all sorts of tabs open of videos I want to be watching. Tin Top says watch the one with Lit Gains and Mikey, and fast forward through the first 10 minutes because or 15 minutes because Lit had microphone problems. But I personally have got an interest in all sorts of things across the board in crypto right now, or in the internet right now. My AC just came on, so the flame started flickering. There's a guy in my local area who runs the Fountainhead Forum on YouTube, and he's had some really interesting guests. One of them that I'm in the middle of watching, she was talking about the coronavirus tyranny. Um, uh, she's a chairman or something like that in the Libertarian Party. She had dinner with Donald Trump just before Julian Assange was released, and this other guy who is a techie freedom fighter that I forget his name. Maybe it was Ross, right? So supposedly Donald Trump had something to do with the release of him. But this Fountainhead Forum, this guy Chris Baker is a guy that's local to my area, and I've been across from him at a meetup multiple times with Libertarian Party stuff, and he used to come to the Bitcoiner meetups as well. He's doing a really cool job, and the Fountainhead, it's called Fountainhead because of Ayn Rand's book, The Fountainhead. She's the one who wrote Atlas Shrugged as well. So he's got like he's released so many of these 1 hour long or 2 hour long videos, and some of the time he's conversing with somebody from that has like heavy experience in South America, or he's talking to somebody here in the States about, freedom or media. And every once in a while he'll talk to somebody from Europe, but that's basically what it's been so far. So he's very well connected, in my opinion, and it's because he's always been this libertarian minded person. So I guess it's always, people who have crossed his front in these circles throughout his years. The guy's got probably 20 years on me, 15 years on me. And I'm looking forward to watching the rest of Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk's interview. And sadly, I don't think Daraj with Hex Asians, I don't think he's done too much lately. I think Finbear just like out of the Hex Guild group, I think Finbear has been the most active lately. Daraj might have allowed his emotions to get the best of him lately. And I totally understand. He and I have the same zodiac sign, and I was feeling it not too long ago, and then I jolted out of it, and then now he's feeling it. So we just had birthdays. So that might be the factor. Yeah, so the other thing that was on my mind was just that I haven't finished watching Finbear's and Lit Gaines's, or yeah, Lit's My Life is Awesome carnivore talk. And then also, guys, I watched this guy out of Pennsylvania who is like retired and doesn't have to go back to work because of donations. He runs the Quantum of Conscience, which is basically like a podcast, but it's on YouTube, and then it's also at freespeech.io, I believe. And I absolutely adore this guy's monologues or whatever it is. He's really able to like lead a story, um to talk his mind and keep you entertained, and talk about how theatrical life is. And he labels everything that um everything that kind of like comes to the forefront and antagonizes us. He calls it of from the modern world, he calls it not nilk, because that's Clinton backwards. So that's not nilk, Clinton. As in the Bill and Hill Hillary. Um so I really appreciate that guy, and it's it's because like it's another one of those things where I could not have had that perspective come across from any of my outlets here in my local area. It had to be the internet, and it had to be in what we call hobo code, in disguised language, on YouTube. That was the only way that stuff could exist and be passed to my ears. And so we like it was one of my first places to hear about the idea that the Titanic could be a completely made up story, and the sister ship took the place of the Titanic, and all of the important people that wanted to replace the Federal Reserve, or be the Federal Reserve instead of the Federal Reserve, were on the ship. And the last minute, just like the World Trade Towers, the last minute, important the people who now run the world weren't there that day, that sort of thing. So yeah, that his name is Matt, and he's at the Quantum of Conscience YouTube channel. And I think that's all I have to offer today. And I don't think too many people are going to watch this because it's an hour and 40 minutes long. But it's been my pleasure to get everything off of my mind. And here we are, another subject to the world and what we're all going through. And everybody just appreciate the time that you have and the capabilities of making yourself productive and active and participating in all this stuff. And next time you see somebody you like, tell them so. Tell them, I really appreciate you and you're an awesome being, and this is why I think you're cool. And don't be afraid to do your own thing, because right now is the time where we're able to go out and do our own things and give no mind to the idiocracy that's out there in the world right now. Because there's going to be so many people right now are trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in. And most of us, we've already got it all figured out. And so that's really one thing that I'm really happy about, is that I'm not struggling to figure out who I am. I'm not confused. Instead, the only thing I'm confused about is how is this society going to be reactive? That's the only thing that's left me a little bit in suspense. But I've got plenty to do, and my favorite thing is getting busy and getting lost in materials. And so I hope everybody can find some joy, if only for, thanks Tin Top, appreciate you too. I hope everybody can find some joy for however long. All right, let's call it. So here in the middle of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, we are waiting on this bull, and this bull is going to be nice. It's going to be a big fat bull. It's going to be nice. Later.